its YouTube channel. It's Warhawk67, and tonight I will be covering the U.S. destroyer, the Clemson. So let's get started, shall we? This is a replay of a game I had here recently, I'd say within the last 2 or 3 weeks anyways. A little bit about my Clemson. Um, the Clemson I really like as a destroyer. I think it's actually probably one of the more underrated or less considered destroyers in all of the DD lines. It's actually a really good ship once you learn how to play it. This one is upgraded to the Mark 11 torpedoes. Each torpedo itself individually will do 11,733 in damage. It has twice as many launchers on it as the Asakazi does, and only one less than the Izyuslov, the Russian DD. But it does have the second highest damage per torp between these three destroyers. It has two launchers on each, both on port and starboard sides of the ship, um, and it's quite effective. My captain um, has the AFT skill on board. This allows him to push his gun range out past 10 kilometers, actually to 10.4, as you can see down here on the mini map. This allows me to stealth fire, and it allows me to stealth fire because the ship's detectability at sea is 7 kilometers, and by air, only 3.1 kilometers. In this particular match, we've got on the other side, we've got a couple of carriers and 3 battleships, and I'm singling those out because I like going after the battleships predominantly. In this match, I'll let you see what shakes out of it. It winds up being a pretty good match, all things considered. Just a special note about this particular map. I believe it's New Dawn, or sorry, Fault Line. It is Fault Line. The area over on the 910 line, I still see other battleships trying to go down in there, and that is really a bad idea. You've got no room to maneuver. So the first ship up here we see is the Kamikaze R. This was a reward ship that was given out several months ago by Wargaming. I just took a couple of quick snapshots at him with torpedoes just in case he wasn't going to be a very smart DD player. But he saw the torpedoes coming and took appropriate action. Of course, I missed wildly, but that's all right. So I just kind of keeping an eye on what he's doing there, and I also knew that I had those dive bombers overhead. The one thing about dive bombers and destroyers, it's much easier for destroyers to avoid them if you're paying attention. Just making random and sudden course changes can throw off the dive bomber's aim. Here I'm just trying to keep this other Clemson pushed out away from me and unable to turn broadside so he can launch torpedoes at me. Because right now I've got my eyes locked on that enemy battleship that's up in their cap. Sorry, it's the Congo up there. Now I know that Clemson isn't going to give up completely, so as I start pushing in on this Congo, you're going to see me constantly checking over there to the starboard side or the right side of the ship just to see if I can actually get a visual on him at all. So I'm just kind of trying to keep an eye on the Congo here, making sure that I'm taking a direct run at him, because what I'm trying to do right now is close down the distance. And actually what happened there is I popped smoke on accident. I certainly did not mean to do that. I was trying to hit my speed boost, which I did right behind it. That's a discussion for another time about how to appropriately employ both your smoke screen and your speed boost. And as I figured would happen, here comes the Clemson. Now I'm actually going to have to turn and deal with him before I can take on this Congo. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to launch some torpedoes at the Congo to try to get him pushed away. I don't really expect to hit him. The idea here is to get him to turn, and so that I can then turn my attention to the Clemson that's sitting there firing shots into me. Again, I'm just trying to make sure I get these close enough, and you'll see how there that I kind of led, kind of didn't follow the line on the aim assist for the torpedoes because I was anticipating the Congo's turn. So once again, now I'm back into a gunfight with the Clemson there, and just made quick short work of him. Got quite an air battle going on overhead, and the one thing that I will say about that is, as long as those enemy planes are there, uh, they're going to help this Congo spot any torpedoes that I fire at him. So now that I'm down low on health, I've got to be really careful. What I'm doing here is trying to get that fire started there, so that hoping that he'll put it out, and so that when I fire my torps at him, he'll be taking straight flooding damage. So here comes the next spread, and now he's got to deal with that flooding, and I'm hoping that he'll hit his repair party to put that fire out and to arrest the flooding that I know he's got going on. At the time I fired those torps, I was thinking, okay, he's going to be smart again. He's going to turn. So I was lining him up for this second shot. If I would have known he was going to just not even try, I would have never launched a second salvo. I would have actually held him in place. So now with the Congo down and with the Clemson down, I'm looking at the map here, and I can see that really not close enough to really be able to affect the battle too much. So we're going to start going after these carriers. I'll tell you that I see a lot of people that will go in destroyers that will go after carriers because they think they're big, fat, slow-moving, easy targets to kill. And for the most part, that's probably true. But the problem is if you intentionally go carrier hunting in a destroyer, you're effectively taking yourself out of the fight. I already taken myself out of that fight, and as you can see, I'm very low on health. Um, any hit that I take at this point is going to kill me. So I've got to play this very, very carefully and make sure that I take full advantage of each shot that I get. So my first victim is going to be the Bogue here, and I'm not quite sure what he did here, if he just slowed down or what. That set of torps should have hit. I went ahead and started turning just in case they missed, and I could tell by this point here that they were going to miss, so I fired a second salvo at him. That salvo, however, is not going to miss. And this is where having the torpedo tubes on both sides of the Clemson comes in real handy. You can effectively hold in one whole side, or in this case two salvos of torpedoes in reserve, and get your enemy to do something else, turn himself and put himself in a worse position than he was to start with, or set up for your next shot. Again, there you can see that's the third time I've missed some dive bombers. Again, that just comes from being aware of what's going on above me and around me and making the appropriate turns. This right here is going to end this guy. And I heard the torpedo call, but as wide as they were from those planes, as you can see, it wasn't a big deal. And there goes my fourth kill for this match. All in all, I call that a good day. Normally, I don't respond to people in chat, but I didn't know if this guy was talking to me or not. But quite honestly, it was kind of I took it that he was, and I was thinking, wow, really? You couldn't see what I was doing? Thank you, Captain Obvious. So looking at the mini map, I know I've got another DD out there, and there it pops up. It's the Isakazi. Um, if I had more health, um, I would have been more aggressive with this guy because with uh, Japanese destroyers, just much like the cruisers, their gun turrets turn really, really slow. So the idea here was just try to get away from him if at all possible, or to potentially line up a torpedo shot. Um, but again, knowing that if I took one shot from him, that was going to be the end of my game. And I just got him off actually. But the problem is as you're going to see here, kind of in the middle of the screen, he had turned and come up towards his own cap. And there, as you can see, his fire going out as he's firing his guns. Again, I think, as you're working up the different lines, if you decide to go up the American DD line, take a good long hard look at the Clemson. The Clemson is a very good ship. That kind of damage is what I'm getting out of it, kind of damage I'm getting out of it now. This is one of my more higher end games. I've had higher ones than that, but certainly you can really rack up the damage in this ship if you play it right. Well, that's all for this video for tonight. I hope you've gotten something out of it. It was just a quick replay video, just to kind of show you the ship in action, and hopefully get you perhaps interested in trying out the U.S. destroyer line. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact me. I'll be happy to try to answer them the best I can. As always, Armored Knights is always recruiting. For those that are maybe watching this video and not a member of any clan in World of Warships or World of Tanks, we are actively recruiting for both our Tanks Division and our Warships Division. If you'd like to know more about us, please visit our website at armoredknights.us, where you can find out more about us and our recruitment policy. Again, thanks for watching the video, and have a good night.